Good morning. Today on Spotlight, we'll drill down on the new multi-million-dollar development project now officially underway at the University of Detroit Mercy in Northwest Detroit. What does it mean for that institution and the heart of one of the Motor City's oldest neighborhoods? We'll ask University President Dr. Antoine Garibaldi. And later on our Sunday morning program, how two artistic projects aim to define the future of Detroit and the very partisan politics of our nation. Inside Eye Detroit and Posters on Politics. Shirley Stancato and Donna Jackson of Detroit and Marcus Lyon of London, England will be among my guests. It's Sunday, November the 22nd. I'm Chuck Stokes and this is Spotlight. Back in February, you announced that you had a big project coming, an expansion project. It appears from what I saw the other day when you had shovels in the ground that you've moved from the talk is cheap stage to the action is money stage.
Absolutely. And we're very excited to get started. It's just a matter of a few months behind schedule because we had hoped to start this project in the summertime. But one of the things that happened with the pandemic is that it was hard to get construction workers. So we're starting now in November, and we hope to be finished with this first phase of the expansion and renovation of our student union within about 7 or 8 months. It's going to be very, very exciting in terms of adding additional space too. We're going to be adding an additional 12,000 square feet of space that will move my office and a number of the other administrative offices in the Fisher Administration Center over to the student union. And that's going to be very, very exciting for us.
You're obviously looking forward in the middle of a pandemic, which has been challenging for everybody in almost every profession. While I know some universities are sort of saying, well, God, we're doing so much virtual stuff right now. Do we really need these future buildings? You're obviously betting on the fact that this is going to end sometime soon and we're going to have people back on campus the way we used to.
Absolutely. And 40% of our students have been taking classes in person. And law school, for example, has been fully virtual. And about 60% of our undergraduate and our graduate classes have also been in virtual learning settings. So very definitely, and this is a part of our master plan and initiative that we had planned over the last couple of years. So being able to do this now in the student center, while unfortunately a lot of students are unable to access this building, is going to work out for us pretty well. And then when we finish this project and add the 12,000 square feet of space, we'll also have the opportunity as well to begin to build some student apartments for undergraduates and graduates as the next phase of this major project.
Dr. Garibaldi, talk about why this is so important, because unlike some universities where they're sort of isolated among themselves, you're smack dab in the middle of Northwest Detroit, a key part of a neighborhood. And so this means what the mayor and others talked about a long time ago is putting emphasis back on the neighborhood, not just downtown.
Well, exactly. I mean, we're making a $16.5 million investment into construction of this project over the next year and a half. And that's just for the student renovation expansion. The total project is more than $55 million. And that's going to be a very, very significant addition to this McNichols campus project. And so in this neighborhood, that's extremely important at a time when many places, many institutions have actually moved out. And we're making the investment now because we know that that's going to be extremely important to have more students who can live on campus, particularly our upperclassmen and lots of our freshmen, even though we are 80% commuters on the campus. So, and this is just one of 3 campuses. You know, our law school is downtown, our dental school is in Corktown, and you've probably heard that we've just bought an additional building in Novi. So for 40,000 square feet, so we can really spread our wings even more.
We need to take a quick little break. We'll come right back with some more questions to Dr. Antoine Garibaldi, president of the University of Detroit Mercy. And welcome back to Spotlight. Dr. Garibaldi, 2019 was a big year for you, the biggest fundraising year in the history of your university. You're also ranked very well academically, top 200 U.S. News and World Report. You achieved that once again this year, and 20% in terms of the top 20% by the Wall Street Journal. What do you attribute all of this success to?
Well, I would say we have outstanding students and outstanding faculty. We've been very, very consistent with the moves that we have made in terms of really raising the level of our academic quality. And so being ranked in the top 20% of both US News and also the Wall Street Journal Times Higher Education Survey has been extremely important. We've also had very high retention rate. Our retention rate for our first year to second year class this year was 87%. And our graduation rates have been steadily going up as well. So we have the kind of quality education in our Jesuit at Mercy tradition that really wants to make sure that students are fully developed and fully well-rounded in terms of their academic, their intellectual, their spiritual, and their social environment. And then many students really want a smaller environment. So we have 5,000 students total, a little less than 3,000 students at the undergraduate level, and more than 1,000 at the graduate school level. And it's a place where, because of our student to faculty ratio being very small, under 13 to 1 for student to faculty, our faculty gets to know them, I get to know them, and many of our other administrators get to know them, and staff as well too. So they really feel like they are receiving a very personalized education.
Doctor, you've been in academic circles for a long time. You've worked in Pennsylvania, you've worked in the nation's capital at Howard University. You hail from the Great South and New Orleans area, and you know everybody. What is it you would like from the new president-elect and the vice president-elect? What kind of education message should they have for this country?
Well, I think we're going to get a very focused education message. Certainly, Vice President-elect's wife, Mrs. Biden, has been a professor at a community college for many, many years. Very proud of my Howard alumna in Vice President-elect Kamala Harris. And I know that the attention is really going to be placed on both higher education as well as elementary and secondary education. There's a great need there, and there's even a greater need since this pandemic, because so many young people have really lost out on an opportunity for their education with their teachers over the last several years. So I do know some of the individuals who are part of the transition team. I know that their focus is going to be, very much devoted to the opportunities for students to really get a great education, and also to be very formed and developed so that they can go on to even higher levels. So I'm very optimistic about what we're going to see going forward.
Quick final question. You're also moving up in the ranks of the Boule, which for those who don't know is a very well-respected fraternal organization. African-American men in particular, all across this nation, movers and shakers. I assume that in that role, wearing that hat, there are some key things that you would like that organization to do for this nation. Can you give us a 30 seconds on what you would like to see with the other members?
Well, sure. Well, we've been focused, obviously, the Boule Sigma Pi Phi fraternity is the oldest African-American fraternity in this country. It started in 1904. The Iota chapter here in Detroit is the 8th oldest in the country. And education and also social action have been two extremely important pillars of this organization. We work very closely with young men and women here in the city of Detroit, as well as around the country. And our 5,000 members also focus very much on how we can develop young people in really a full manner, and show them the opportunities that they can have both in careers as well as being involved in volunteer service and also in public policy.
All right, Dr. Garibaldi, I don't know when in the heck you sleep, but you're obviously very successful at the many different hats that you're wearing and the many things that you're doing. Best of luck to you there at the University of Detroit Mercy, and we'll stay in touch with you and how all this development proceeds.
Thanks very much, Chuck. I appreciate the opportunity.
All right, good seeing you. Happy Thanksgiving.
Thank you. Same to you and your family.
Thank you so much. And when Spotlight returns, we'll turn our attention to the creative side of this city and this nation right after this. Panel, welcome to Spotlight. Good having all of you with us. Marcus Lyon, I'm going to begin with you. What in the world possessed you to put together a book that if I pick it up, I get a hernia, and if I throw it at someone, they get a concussion?
Well, I was asked by a group of amazing Detroiters to tell your story in a passionate and authentic way. And let's face it, Chuck, it's a big story, so we needed a big book.
All right, very good, very good. Where'd the idea come from? And then you enlisted the partners, some of who are with us here today. But tell us where this all came about and why you did it.
So we create human atlases, Chuck. And what we do is we bring together 100 extraordinary change agents who are nominated to be part of our projects. And then we tell their stories through photography, DNA, and sound. And we build an image-activated app that swipes over the portraits, and then the portraits actually talk back to you and tell you their own story. So we built this in response to what we feel is a world where we're listening to a lot of shouty people, and we really need to slow down. We need to listen. We need to see those in our communities who are really doing the heroic work in the neighborhoods and doing the deep work to heal our societies and to create a more hopeful future. So the iDetroit book is a book that honors 100 of your most inspirational sisters and brothers in the city of Detroit.
Well, I was fortunate enough to be at the big breakfast that launched this, which really introduced Marcus to the Detroit community. And at the end of that breakfast, I was so intrigued by the project and the description of the project. I went to Marcus and actually talked to him and invited him to lunch so I could talk to him about, from my perspective, Detroit's story. Mm-hmm. One of the things that intrigued me about this was the opportunity for Detroiters who often said to me, we talk about all the new people and the new people that are coming to, basically, recreate Detroit. I wanted to make sure that the people who say to me, what about those of us who've been here all along doing this work?
Through thick and thin.
Yes, and Marcus and I had a great lunch, and we were partners after that. And I'm so proud of the project. But again, he listened, and you can see that. You can see that from the book. So we have Detroiters telling their own story. Those who've been here for a while, as we would say, is holding it down. There really was a process. There was a nomination process. We had people from around Metro Detroit nominating individuals, and there was a team of curators, if you will, who we sat together at the Charles Wright Museum and went through all of the nominations. Our role was to make sure, from my perspective, that there was diversity across the board, not just in race and age and gender, mm-hmm. but in the kind of work folks in the community were doing, and to be able to lift that up, from educators to religious people to just community-based folks, that artists, of course. And so it's important that we did that. And it was difficult. Marcus will tell you, we spent hours upon hours and days upon days going through. We got 100, right? But 100, we went through so many more, 2 or 3 times that to get to the 100 that we got to. So it was really a grueling process, but so rewarding in the end. And it was very difficult, Marcus will tell you, to select the individuals, because you go, oh my God, we have 3 of these. Can we get another one? This sounds so great. Really, really, really very, 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 very tedious process, but in the long run, so well worth our time.
In Marcus' case, he found this book and also integrating technology. And for me, the current project I'm working on, I use graphic design and posters. So
right, and you have these political posters. They're featured at the Mary Grove Gallery. You try to tell stories with these posters, and I can only imagine the material you've had to work with, given this very interesting election that we just come off, and all of the demonstrations and everything that's just been going on across America.
Absolutely. This has been very interesting collection of posters. I've been doing this since 2016. And I mean, the gamut of what we see with this collection from, of course, what's going on in our American politics, but also like globally, when we're talking about climate change and our food supply, um, immigration, the water. I mean, it's across the gamut. But one thing I love is that all of these different people from all of these different countries, there's this thing of desiring peace. All of these different beliefs, there's still peace tends to run through as a like a thread through these different narratives. So that was a awesome outcome of this project.
Sure. Very good. All right, we need to take a quick little break. We'll hurry right back with some more questions. Don't go away. Marcus, let me get back to you across the pond over there in London, England. There's someone who I'm not sure if you've had an opportunity to meet yet in our area named Olga Stella, and she's with Design Core Detroit. And in the last interview I did with her, and I've done several, she talked about the Detroit of the future is going to be shaped in large part by the creative types and the stories we tell, and also, as Shirley Stancato mentioned earlier, about diversity and inclusion and equity. How do you hope that iDetroit fits into this and helps to tell that story about such a unique city?
I think that's an excellent observation. And I think I'd contend that, you know, many of the social entrepreneurs in our midst are very like artists. And often we, you know, the world tries to other us and put us apart. But actually, the creative talents that people in social enterprise are working against systemic racism or in housing crisis against, you know, for water equity, you know, they're actually doing what many artists do, which is they're trying to express an important idea with very limited resources and bring incredible creative ideas to the piece to create change, to inspire others. So I'd like to say that with the iDetroit project, what we were doing is we were highlighting a group of remarkable people in Detroit who are, against all odds, creating extraordinary change. And they represent what I would say is the very best of what we can be if we look towards the future in a more hopeful, powerful, and collaborative way.
I hope people will get at least out of this project is, yes, we here at Detroit, we focus on our community and wanting to strengthen that and all of those things, but we're also very aware of how Detroit is important in a global aspect, and being able to, you know, speak upon what's going on in our city and how that actually affects on a global scale. I believe the work that I do connects those things. And I want people to know, yes, we are hardcore about our city, but that same passion is there when we talk about our country as well as our world.
How often is it, and is it perhaps many times in our world in which art in whatever form is sort of that catalyst for our society, oftentimes maybe ahead of where our society is and where it should be going?
I absolutely know that artists are the medium or the psychics of the world. They are telling you what is going on and where we're going. And it's so important. I mean, and it's also that salve sometimes when things feel just out of whack and chaotic. Art can be that thing that heals, that comforts you too. So yes, art is definitely, and artists are, a huge part of telling us where we are as a society, and also a huge part of being able to tell us where we can go and what we can be. So I absolutely agree with that.
We spend a lot of time worrying about what other folks think of us. This project, to me, and from a very personal perspective, is a project that we can use really to talk to ourselves, right? One of the things that when you listen to the different stories, there's a big piece about it's my responsibility. I felt it's my responsibility to do this. And so for us to be able to look at this, listen to the stories of individuals who are here working, it helps us to see what we can do and who we can be. So from the point of little kids, my little grandchildren have, and Marcus knows the story, have taken, because of the app, only because of the app now, and they've taken it across individuals' pictures, and they get these stories, and they're intrigued by the stories, right? And so it will help us to tell our own story to ourselves. Oftentimes you hear people say, you know, you're just singing to the choir. And I always say, you know, the choir needs to hear some hymns every now and then too. So for me, there are lots of uses for it, but from a perspective, a personal perspective, that's to me the biggest use that we can have. It's really an amazing, amazing gift to us.
Marcus Lyons, I'll give you the last question here. Talk just a brief moment about how this project has evolved in terms of the way the average person can access it. You know, I've kidded you about the size and the weight of the book, but there's also an app portion to this, and there's an audio visual.
So we're very aware that this is an amazingly elitist book. It's this big, beautiful, expensive art book, which, you know, you can buy on Amazon and various museum bookshops. But what I decided with the team was we needed to make it completely equitable. So what we've done is we've created a Human Atlas website that contains all the information from the iDetroit project, so anybody can access it anywhere. And I can tell you, to a wider audience, we're shipping these books all over the world so that they can hear the incredible stories of Detroit. So I think to that wider sense of, you know, where does art go and how does it get consumed and who gets to listen to these stories? One of the beauties of these human atlases is they have a global interest. People are wanting to know your story, and they're getting to access it through the iDetroit initiative.
Very good. Marcus Lyons from across the pond there in London, thank you so much for joining us. Make sure that you access his iDetroit project in whatever way is easiest for you. It's certainly fascinating profiles of people and our great city. Also, make sure that you check out Posters of Politics over at the Mary Grove Art Gallery by Donna Jackson, and we appreciate you joining us. And Shirley Stancato, thanks for your involvement in this project, and good luck on the Wayne State Board of Trustees.
Thank you.
Thank you all. And a special thanks to my guests. Happy Thanksgiving to everyone. I'm Chuck Stokes. We'll be back next week with more newsmakers in the spotlight. We hope you have a great week.